Welcome into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford, on site here in Oxnard, California, as the Cowboys have wrapped up another padded practice on a Saturday in front of a sold-out crowd of Cowboys Nation. Alongside Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you're with us. Isaiah, there was a lot of energy on Saturday as things wrap up behind us. The fans brought the energy and the players matched it.
And you could feel it, man. You could feel it. Football's here. We're 1 week away from games, and these guys are running around, hitting each other, thudding up, highly competitive practices, safe practices, but it's good to see these guys running around and having a good time.
More than half of the practice session involved team drills. Right. There were a lot of different work for a lot of different position groups. Anybody on the offensive side stick out? Because really they got a ton of work against a really good defensive front.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys that I think about, especially when they started working towards the red zone. A name that you started really seeing present itself in the huddles was Peyton Hendershot. Peyton Hendershot seemingly was one of those guys that they're going to be trusting down there in the red zone, and he's going to have the opportunity to step up in that regard. Also, Jalen Tolbert. You saw him utilizing his size down in the red zone. And then there was a gentleman by the name of Jalen Brooks who just happened to find his way working with the ones, and that was awesome to see as well.
Lots of rotations. Young guys, both at the receiver position and in the offensive line, got probably the most work they've had throughout training camp today because they had their hands full with the defensive front. Micah Parsons, another big day. He was in the backfield quite a bit. Chuma Edoga came out and set the tone at left tackle, laid a punch, and that was about it. After that, it was Micah Parsons pretty much the rest of the way. Defensively, have you seen what you've wanted to see here in Oxnard, California, about what the defense and the expectations, what they've set going in?
I have. I mean, when you're talking about the interior defensive line and what they've been trying to address over the last year and a half since they added Jonathan Hankins. Not only did they add Jonathan Hankins, obviously, in his impact last year, but now they go out and get Mozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Those guys' role particularly is simply just to sit in the A-gaps and clog things up, okay? Just block it up. Don't allow anybody to know C-bitch get into the second level. But then you have a rotation of guys right behind them. You have Oso Digizua, who's showing up constantly on film. You have Chauncey Golston, who showed up in a big way today. He was making a big impact. These are all guys that are going to be not only obviously competing for roles in this team, but also for positions on this team.
Yeah. You got to find a way to stand out from the pack. Yeah. And there's been a couple guys that have done that. You mentioned Jalen Brooks. You mentioned even Eric Scott Jr. had a great day in the secondary today. Wanye Thomas has done so throughout camp. Separating yourself as a young player in this roster, on this roster, is going to go a long way. And a practice like this gives those sort of opportunities. So we've talked a little bit about the offense, a little bit about the defense. But when we come back, let's talk special teams, because things didn't necessarily go to plan on the special teams side of things. What could be next for Mike McCarthy, John Fossil, and company as we continue here in Oxnard?
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Cowboys! This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm always about signing our own players. To me, that's the most important, component of free agency that exists. Because anytime as a coach, you really sell your players to buy into the program, buy into the process, and then, the ability to have them for a second contract. I mean, that's what breeds the continuity, the consistency that we're all after. So, I think it's great when we're able to sign our current players back to another contract.
Our sound brought to you by Sleep Number as we welcome you back into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford, with Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Youmans, and Isaiah, you played in the NFL for quite some time, but you also, during that time, learned special teams is not just something you put to the side. It's something that you have to have an impact on. A lot of those young players we talked about in the first segment starting to step up in the special teams aspect. Who has done that for John Fossil so far?
Well, one guy that you're seeing in the mix that everybody wants to see offensively, but he has to show up on special teams as well, is Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of people want to see him be alternated with Kevontae Turpin, but that's not necessarily where they have him at. They have him on there being personal protector, protecting the punter. And they also have him on there as being a hold-up guy on the punt return side of things. So he's going to be busy in this preseason, not only toting the rock in the backfield, but also making his impact shown on the special team side of things.
What about the gunner side of things? Because you've seen guys make the special teams unit because of what they do in that position and for that unit. I mean, you lost Luke Gifford in the offseason. You lost Noah Brown in the offseason. Those were core special teams guys who could step up and fill those roles.
Well, I know one of the guys that you may not know about, at least most people are watching, is Jose Bartman. Jose Bartman is going to be one of the guys who's one of their speed guys that they'll put out there as a gunner. Another guy that we just keep bringing his name up is Jalen Brooks. He's out there as a gunner as well, facing vices, which is two guys trying to defend him, not allowing him down the field. He's having to fight and tussle his way down there. He is going to be a man that's going to be, his lungs are going to be tested in the preseason. He's going to be all over the place.
He's going to be all over the place. And speaking of all over the place, the kicking situation. It was not good on Saturday, plain and simple. There's a lot to dissect here in terms of who will be the kicker. Brandon Aubrey brought in just a couple weeks ago off of the USFL circuit.
Correct.
Then you have Tristan Vizcaino, who's been in the NFL for a couple of years. Neither one of them look to be the answer. What could be next for this kicking situation?
I'm not sure, Kyle, but I'm hoping that one of these guys steps up.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that today was just an off day and that's not something that's going to be consistent. You know, it doesn't make me feel any sense of assurance coming off of last year where we came in the same situation, having these same conversations about who was going to be your kicker going into the season. At some point in time in camp, somebody stepped up and took the role. We're hoping that same thing happens, but today was not one of those days that gave you a lot of confidence.
Last year it was Jonathan Garibay and Liram Hiralahu battling it out, but it was Brett Maher that ultimately ended up as the kicker. Today, the mojo moment circled around what the kickers could do in a certain situation. So whenever they were in that situation, they came in and they were only 1 of 6 putting it through the uprights. Things certainly weren't clean from a special team standpoint. I want to talk about something good, though, after talking about the kickers. The young John Stevens, rookie tight end out of Louisiana, he had a great day again. What could he continue to build on from Coach Linda Wells?
Listen up, he has a great coach in Linda Wells showing him the way. I mean, Linda Wells, his track record in terms of tight ends and developing them is up there with the greats. And I know right now, John Stevens, with his size and his frame, obviously he's raw in terms of blocking, and they'll show him the way in that regard. But they want him really to lean into his expertise, and that is being able to go up and high point the ball. He can get up to ranges that most guys can't reach. He's 6'6", 245 pounds. He is going to be a red zone weapon in his preseason. If he can go out there and show that he's valuable asset to this team in that regard, he might just find his way in his roster.
And you could hear the fans there just a couple moments ago. It wasn't Micah Parsons walking behind. They were yelling, Isaiah, Isaiah, because he's on Inside Cowboys Training Camp, driven by Ford. When we come back, we'll wrap things up and take a look at the week ahead, because it's officially game week for the Dallas Cowboys as they'll take on Jacksonville next Saturday. When we come back right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
What a day it's been here in Oxnard, California, as we welcome you back to Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford. Isaiah Stanback, Kyle Youmans, joined by a sold-out crowd yelling for these Dallas Cowboys after their only padded practice on a Saturday here in Oxnard, because next Saturday, the preseason gets underway. 4 p.m. Central Time kickoff between the Cowboys and the Jaguars. And overall, this is a team that you have a lot of youth. They're going to see a lot of playing time, and because of that playing time, the mindset changes for a lot of these guys. How does it change if you're trying to make the roster?
Well, I mean, you have to start locking in now. I mean, practice has been that, and you've been going against your guys, but now you really have to start honing in on the game plan. You'll start seeing coaches really targeting guys that are going to be kind of playing more reps. They'll start getting more reps in practice. They build their confidence up. But those are going to be the guys, those second and third string guys. You're not going to see the first. They're going to be out there working their butts off to try to make sure that they show a great resume on film.
Quickly, tell me one thing you should watch in the preseason game if you're at home.
If you're at home, watch these guys and the effort that they give. And these guys are going to be out there giving it their absolute all. These are human beings. They are not just pawns out there. They're fighting for their livelihood, and they're going to go out there and do their best.
This isn't just another game for a lot of these guys. This is an opportunity to make the roster. For Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Youmans. That does it for us here from Oxnard, California. We will see you tomorrow as the Cowboys go into the off day.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Go